I'm Adam Marlborough. Well, the word on the weather continues to get both worse and better at the same time. It's been declared an official global emergency by the UN, and all available scientific and technical resources worldwide are being brought to bear to try and find a way to defuse the horrifying power of Zulu 11 and its sister storm, Tip 23. Considering that our city is effectively in lockdown awaiting the full impact of Zulu 11, there may seem little need for additional weather updates. But, as I have just confirmed, this is no local crisis. Our meteorologist Gertrude remains in close connection with the Global Weather Bureau, who are responsible for tracking the development of this storm as well as associated systems around the world. Apparently, the more visionary meteorologists on the planet have new observations and ideas regarding this weather. Gertrude?
This is WRAT meteorologist Gertrude Schwager. Yes, Adam, we should all be grateful for the fact that at this moment there are meteorological experts closely examining the way this storm developed and how it continues to do so. The most recent news I have received indicates that although Zulu 11 is now solidly over land and spreading, it is not so much moving as expanding. In fact, I recently received a call from Shelburne Island indicating that above the 30-meter waves, which now completely cover the island, winds are gusting to 380 kilometers an hour. Somehow this storm continues to draw energy and power, and it shows no sign whatever of diminishing in strength, now that much of its footprint is over land, as any normal storm would do. Weather phenomena expert Dr. Jean Devereaux of the Global Bureau has been watching this progression from the relative calm of eastern Canada. Dr. Devereaux, do you have any solid leads on what is causing Zulu 11's behavior?
Gertrude, anything we have at the moment is purely speculative, but certain data we gathered earlier this afternoon indicates a massive upward flow of air and water from certain points over both the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. This kind of behavior is typical in extreme storms, but in most cases the updraft is localized and of short finite duration. These are not only stable and widely distributed, but if our estimates are correct, they continue to grow. It's almost as if some form of artificial pumping mechanism is actively drawing air and water from sea level to the upper atmosphere, where the continuous and dramatic thermal and moisture contrast is creating huge turmoil, feeding a steady supply of additional energy to the existing storm.
Does this not mean, Jean, that if nothing is done to shut down these pumps, the storms will simply grow and worsen until they encompass the entire globe in an extinction event?
We believe there are at least 24 hours remaining before that stage would be reached, Gertrude. But yes, your conclusion is much the same as ours. It is very unlikely that any living creatures on the planet's surface would survive a global storm of the potential proportions that are currently developing. However, we also believe that if there are in fact devices directing the flow of planetary air and water, they would be destroyed long before such an extinction horizon was reached. That being said, we do not know exactly when their destruction would disable the energy pumping stages, or even whether the pumping may be self-sustaining past a certain point. Clearly the planet is in grave peril.
It would seem that if there are indeed such pumps, our only hope lies in shutting them down as soon as possible. Is there a strategy in place to attempt this?
If they are physical objects, clearly they must be satellites of some sort. This is what the UN's Geo-Defense Grid was designed for: protection of the Earth from either extra- or intraplanetary assault. I cannot provide any details, but I know the Planetary Defense Agency are scanning the locations we've provided for such devices. Let us hope they can both find them and destroy them soon. Even now, apart from the devastating winds, rain, and lightning, we have multiple reports from the southeast seaboard of geyser-like downspouts jetting icy water from the skies, flushing everything before them like gigantic fire hoses. If we do not find a way to shut the pumps down, there may be little left of our infrastructure to save.
This is indeed sobering news, Dr. Devereaux. Nevertheless, we are grateful for the information and for your insights. We can only hope that planetary defense succeed in their mission, in both the Atlantic and the Pacific. for the sake of all. Back to you, Adam.
So there it is, a 24-hour time window. In the meantime, we continue to do what we're doing. Find safe, secure shelter, so that when the PDA shut down the energy feed that's powering the storms, and they will shut it down, there are still people around to pick up the pieces.
And I'm Helen Burgess. Closer to home, we've heard little from the authorities about the current state of blockade enforcement in the downtown, especially since Zulu 11 has begun to have a severe detrimental effect on the city. Moments ago, WRAT was contacted by Field Commander Carlene Velasquez of the National Defense Service, the officer in overall command of Sewerston's military blockade. She's asked for an opportunity to speak to the people of Sewerston directly, as the weather threat continues to compound the problem of the downtown riot. Commander Velasquez, you're live on WRAT.
I would first like the population of Sewerston to know that I'm under no obligation to communicate with the public while in the performance of my duty to this country, as my position carries full exclusion from all local jurisdictions and immunity from all relevant laws. My authority is absolute in matters of security, including complete precedence over any decision of the SSO. However, the present circumstances are truly exceptional, and the impact of Zulu 11's power on this city will be dire. For the protection of Sewerston's civilian population, I am therefore issuing a full ban on street activity in this city effective at 4:30 p.m. coastal. This is not restricted to the downtown riot zone, but applies to the entire city. It is effectively a curfew, restricting all citizens not involved in enforcement or emergency services to buildings and indoor structures only. Any unauthorized person encountered by one of our patrol teams or by an SSO squad will immediately be pacified, neutralized, and secured. The level of force used has been left to the discretion of the patrols. I warn you, street activity within the riot zone will be dealt with particularly harshly. There is a second part to this message. For those who are within the riot zone blockade, be aware that our squads have begun systematic building-to-building, door-to-door sweeps of the entire zone. Passive civilian groups will be assisted in securing themselves against the worsening weather. Those perceived as showing aggressive or suspicious intent will be pacified on sight. You may consider this, along with similar announcements broadcast over the emergency alert systems of all the downtown buildings, to be your one and only warning. That is all.
And I think Commander Velasquez has very clearly stated in that announcement exactly how the authorities plan to proceed over the coming hours. Our thanks to her for considering the needs of Sewerston citizens and providing a warning to us of the imminent curfew. Although how any of the enforcing squads hope to maintain their patrols if the weather gets as bad as we anticipate, I'm afraid I do not know.
Now for an update on the sports scene in the storm. Here's Oliver.
Thank you, Lana. At our major sports venues in Sewerston, WIT sports reporters Clarice Porter and John Horton are still on scene to bring us the sports perspective on crowd management, team engagement, and citizen response in our city's time of crisis. We'll go first to Causeway Stadium. Clarice, can you tell us what's happening down there?
Well, Oliver, I think you'd be amazed at how effectively this stadium has been sealed against the weather, and how the Maulers fans, as well as the small number of Bombers fans in town for today's match, have pulled together to help turn Causeway Stadium into an efficient shelter. Certainly it's not 100% proof against the winds. We've already had 4 breaches where doors were torn free and areas had to be abandoned. But I'd estimate there are about 40,000 people sheltering here and hoping to be able to ride out this storm. It's quite a test of the human spirit. And so far, thank goodness, I'm impressed.
And the Maulers, are they still giving directions, keeping the peace?
That's what's so amazing, Oliver. Once the building was at absolute capacity and doors shut, there was such a sense of team spirit amongst the fans that within 10 or 15 minutes the whole place was completely ordered. The few soldiers who arrived earlier and stayed are still acting as authority over squabbles. Food and water distribution, general peacekeeping, There was no longer a need for the team members to stay in hiding, so they've all pulled off the helmets and police gear. They're moving through the crowd in groups of 2 or 3, at least one from each team in a group, and they're keeping people calm. I think it's the idol factor. Fans are so amazed at having such close encounters with their team stars that they'll do anything to be helpful. In spite of the dire circumstance, there's a general mood of camaraderie, mutual support and respect.
Clarice, how safe do you think the stadium structure is? I don't believe it was designed to be proof against the winds, and you are within only a kilometer of the ocean.
Safe or not, we're stuck here now, Oliver. Soldiers are wisely blockading the underground parking areas, as there's no guarantee they'll drain if the ocean comes in. But if the structure itself breaks up in the winds, or if the waves reach us in force, well, at least people will go down fighting to help each other.
I am confident, then, that all of you will be with us still when this crisis has passed, Clarice. There is no force like the human spirit, of many pulling together, to find a way through danger.
Thanks, Oliver. Gotta go. We just lost another door. I'm on the evac team. I'll get back to you again if I can.
As an example to all of us in our present situation, to the entire city of Suriston, it would be hard to do better than Causeway Stadium. People helping people to survive. I am sure there are many such scenes around Suriston at the moment. Another one in the making is the Underworld Heap, where John Horton is staying with our tail thrashers as they face the sobering realities around them following the recent elation of their victory over the Canton Pyros. John, what can you tell us?
I am pleased to report a similar level of cooperative effort amongst the fans here, Oliver, to what Clarice is observing at Causeway. The difference here, though, is we have only a few police on site and no military. But as with the maulers and bombers, our tail thrashers have joined with the pyros to act as a peace force and wander the crowds. So far it's keeping most people calm, especially since the teams are going about their patrols armed. The combination of general awe and fear make a very powerful force. Very few are giving trouble, even fans of opposing sides. Thanks to our teams for that, live fire players will earn a new level of respect after this is all over.
I understand that you have some additional advantages over Clarice in this situation as well. A brand new venue, which not only was designed to be proof against winds, but is also equipped with state-of-the-art drainage management. If the facility lives up to its billing, you should be much more able to cope with the storm's impact than Causeway.
This is absolutely true, Oliver. But we are also dealing with significantly greater numbers. Very few of the 200,000 or so fans actually left the heap after the match. Security staff and police sealed the exits because the storm was already on us by the time our match was over. So we're managing nearly 5 times what Causeway has to deal with, and with fewer authority figures. That's why the team members need their weapons.
It sounds like your live fire squads are in their element, John, strutting their stuff. I hope the weapons aren't needed. We'll call back for another update in a half hour or so.
And we will be here, Oliver, rationing hot dogs and beer.
Following the reports from both Rick Allen and Alice Travis in the skies above Suiston, and in consideration of the state of flying conditions as well as the aircraft curfew imposed by Acting Mayor Andrea Ogilvy, WRAT has worked diligently with the Air Traffic Authority to remedy the problem with our intersection access ramps. We are pleased to report, especially for those of you still struggling to get down on the ground safely, that a partial reactivation of the ramps has been achieved. This does not apply to all ramps, nor does it guarantee 100% functionality, but it is our understanding that many have now been able to move below the hard buffer and reach safety. Rick Allen is still on the move at street level and is on the line with a visual report. Rick?
Lana, now that the ramps have started to operate, you're right. Hovers have now begun to flow down to the ground level collectors and scatter to their various destinations. But because routes like Western Ross are already jammed solid, the bottlenecks have now moved below the hard buffer. It'll clear in time, of course, but unfortunately, time's something this storm's not giving us much of. And from here I can see some of the effects this storm's wrath and people's panic have had. The hard buffer's littered with hovers which are clearly no longer operational, but are being tossed about like leaves in the wind. How anyone can help those poor people is beyond me, unless the winds die down first.
But on the ground, do you think those who made it there will be able to get to shelter?
Well, Lana, I'm still creeping along Aldershot, and it's moving inconsistently since the ramps opened. I'd say if they can get past the bottleneck at the main ramps and the collectors, the roads are still navigable. But the collectors are the problem. Getting down's only the first step. And even on the side roads, it seems we have issues. I've got a major tie-up ahead. Gotta go check it out. I'll report back later.
Located in our hidden warrens far beneath the city, WRAT's squad of intrepid reporters infest the city, unseen and unlooked for. Combined with the magic of video, we are the eyes and ears of this metropolis. And we're here 24/365 for you.
I suspect that for those still in the sky, there's only a small time window remaining before all hope of hover control will be gone. So if you are up there over the city, get down and get to shelter.
And unfortunately, down at ground level, it's not so safe either. The latest CityCam feed from the main entrance to the Oasis Biodome indicates that there's growing unrest as panicked people try to gain admission to a park that was closed to all additional visitors half an hour ago. WRAT field reporter Jeremy Olcott is on the scene, and we've been able to get him on the line. Jeremy, tell us what's going on.
I'm afraid it's a little chaotic inside the park too, Lana. As I said at last report, the Biodome's designed for a maximum load of 210,000, and it's currently holding upwards of 280,000 visitors, with many more clamouring at the entrance to be admitted. It's actually unclear how many people this amazing facility could practically support, since the plethora of plant life significantly enhances built-in air recirculation and filtering capacity. So, many of those inside already believe we should be opening the doors to all comers, and they're protesting on behalf of those still outside. Others, as you might guess, are not so altruistic. The warden and his team of park rangers are doing their best to keep the peace, but right now, I can't say I'm too optimistic. I think all-out bedlam is likely any time.
I see that some of those in the crowd outside are wielding implements, trying to break open the doors, or the biodome itself, or both. Is this a real risk?
Very unlikely, Lana. The doors are like those on a typical weather bunker, that design based on the old fallout shelter structures. And the dome itself is a translucent material, but I understand composed of some kind of advanced polymerized composite that has the properties of high-grade steel plate. It would be like hitting the sides of a tank with a pitchfork. Not very effective.
So, the only real hope for those outside is to have the doors opened.
Pretty much, I'd say. And in the meantime, the frenzied debate inside continues. I'm taking up a position atop the Warden's Fire Observation Tower, so I can see what's going on. But the mood is ugly. Expect a full-out battle any time.
We'll hope it doesn't come to that. And also, for the sake of those outside, that the humanitarian faction prevails. Let us know the moment you have any new developments.
You betcha, Lana.
With LastTech's latest intruder security system, you'll never need to worry about your home and its contents while you are away again. Our integrated infrared intruder detection system, efficiently distributed in all areas of your home using our patented IntelliZone mirror network, continuously scans for the uninvited visitor. Registered users are 100% safe, but intruders triggering the system will be subjected to 10 seconds of carefully engineered microsecond pulses from the proprietary 10 gigawatt LastTech laser, immobilizing any living creature for a minimum of 2 hours as our automatic emergency response systems alerts appropriate authorities. You've seen it in the holos, now experience it live. The Intruder 5000. Give your home the peace of mind it deserves.
WRAT field reporter Ann Kelso is in another kind of danger, over and above that we're all in, as she continues to try and discover more of the possible plot behind our world crisis. She's on the line with me now. Ann, what have you discovered?
That I'm on the right track, Helen. With the communication sets I've captured, I've now been able to record some of the dialogue between what are clearly different arms of the Apostles organization. And yes, it is not simply a random collection of fanatics. It is very well organized and includes a militant arm, a political arm, a technology arm, and, of course, a religious zealot arm in addition to the guiding body which called itself the 12. Here's a brief clip from a dialogue I overheard about 20 minutes ago between one of the 12 and Dr. Altus Ferguson, the chief fanatic in their technology arm.
You think it'll go all the way? How well are your satellite stations holding up?
They will survive to the end. That is what we designed them to do. But it appears some of the more intelligent but naive scientific minds have worked out what we're doing, and they're trying to send their orbital weapon platforms after our birds.
But you foresaw this, yes? I seem to recall that from your original proposal.
Our little harbingers are not without teeth. They can defend themselves. When planetary defense starts shooting, they're in for a little surprise. Or two.
Then I look forward to welcoming the end with you, brother, and seeing you in the glorious realm that is to come. May the Exalted strengthen your purpose and harden your resolve.
And that, I think, was one of the more moderate members of the Guiding Council. The 12 are about as fanatical and misguided as they come. And it sounds like our friend Ferguson is happily seeking the apocalypse with all his fellow maniacs. I'd suggest you pass this little conference clip on to...
Ann? Ann, are you there?
Shut up! Surge! Joe! No!
Ann? Ann, did the surge help?
Worked. Can move. Needs a few moments to recover. Thanks.
They're onto you, Ann. Perhaps you should be finding a place to lie low.
No time. And nobody else. It's all controlled from here. Their satellite pumping network. You heard what Altus said? PDS won't be able to take them out unless I do something to disable their defenses. Now. Or it'll be too late for all of us.
And either the entire place is booby-trapped, or they specifically targeted you.
Generic defensive sonic. They don't know where I am. Just have to be more careful. Alright, I'm on the move again, Helen. Thanks for the search tone. I'll figure this out. My locator puts Altus no more than 2 floors above. Plan to crash his little party. AKA out.